Sharky626 and JK18's Appliance Repair Service. We are on location in an undisclosed location. We have a direct drive Whirlpool washer that has a broken motor coupler, or coupling, however you want to say it. I had a video on this previously. I'll give you a quick demonstration of that. I have the lid switch disabled. I have the machine in spin. And when I go to turn it on, nothing. And just in case you think it might be a neutral drain, if I stop it and try it again, nothing. So we have to fix that. We also have to fix the agitator dogs, but I will make a separate video on that. Disconnect the washer from the wall outlet. That's on an extension cord here. We're also going to disconnect the hoses. Normally I would just shut the water right here, but because these valves have been here probably since 1926 and never turned, at least for 15 or more years, I'm going to shut the water to the house instead. We're going to disconnect the hoses from the washer itself also. To relieve the pressure, I've shut the water to the house off, and I've set this to warm. We've opened the sink upstairs. We'll turn that on, and it doesn't appear... Oh, actually, we have it disconnected, so we have to... Yeah. Okay, now it's in and on, and we'll let that just drain out until it stops. Okay, it's just about empty, so I'm going to stop it and put it to spin. Even though it won't spin and the motor coupler is broken, it still spins the drain pump. So if your washer is filled with water, it will still drain it. There is a little bit of water in here, and it will take care of that. Once I go to spin, it's... Oh, I need a screwdriver to hit the door switch here. There we go. So just let that run for a few seconds, and that's good. The fill hoses are disconnected. The drain hose goes into a standpipe here. We've just pulled that out. When you do that, all the excess water that is in the machine will come out, so you will want a bucket handy. Now what we're going to do, there's two ways you can go about this. You can tip the machine on its back and do everything from there, or you can take the cabinet off the machine and access it that way, and that's the way we're going to do it. But again, if you want to just tip it on its back, you can get something like a couple of paint cans or something to put on the floor and tilt it all the way back so it leans on that, and then you can get to it. Remove the controls panel. So this one has two Phillips screws,
and they're on the front. There we go.
You just flip the control panel right up, just like that.
Perfect.
To disconnect the lid switch connector, yours may be in a slightly different spot. There's a tab on it, as you just saw.
Lift it up.
And now we have to undo these clips here. So here's how you do it. You put a screwdriver in there and pry it, and it pulls forward, and the clips pop out. Here's again, like that, and the clips pop out. And as you notice right here, the back of it has that little piece that goes up, which goes and hooks into that. So that's how it'll go back, and then it just sort of snaps back down. Okay. Now the whole top and sides and front of the machine comes off. Just take that out and get it out of the way. Once you have the cover off, this is about what you'll see. I set up a light so we have some more light to see. And the next step is to remove the pump. You can either remove the clips from it and just tie it up out of the way with a piece of wire, but you will be flexing these hoses, and if your machine is an older one, you might end up cracking them. So it might be better to take the hoses off first. It's your choice. If you want to do that, these are just some spring clamps, as you see. Okay, you just squeeze those with a plier, work them off, and then pull the hoses off, and then undo the clips on that. As you see them there, you just stick a flat blade screwdriver in it, and that'll pop those clips. Just like that. They're just spring clips like that. And that's what it looks like right there. There's two of those, so we'll take the other one off as well. Just pry it. and that comes off, and just kind of wiggle and twist it.
So if you turn it 90 degrees, it comes out.
Right. And then there's that. The pump should just come right off, just like that. No big deal. Okay, so here we have the motor. Here's the pump that we just pulled off. Here's the shaft, one of the shafts. This is what drives the water pump here. We have to disconnect the electrical connection from the motor. You see that flexes, and when you flex that, then you can wiggle off the connector here. It's a little fidgety. I'll put a screwdriver in there. There we go, that comes off. This particular one also has a capacitor there, and we're going to disconnect the leads from that. They just pull off as well. Just wiggle it. There's one, doesn't matter which way they go back, so I'll pull the other one off. Okay, so we have the connectors disconnected. Now we have to remove the motor holding clips. Here's one down here. On yours, there will be a screw that goes through the hole on that. You see the little hole right there? There'll be a screw there. This is missing it. It was serviced once before many years ago, and those idiots neglected to put that in. The other holding clip is up here. That also has a screw. They're 1/4 inch. You just undo those, and then you pry them out. You see there's a nice notch right over here to put your screwdriver in to get those out.
So get them in there. Oh. Okay.
There we go. And then the one up here is going to be a little more fidgety because we have the ground in the way. There we are. And the whole motor just falls out. You can pull the clips out. Here's what they look like. The motor pulls out, and we reveal here's the coupler.
Oh, right here. It's broken right there.
Yep. So what happens here, you see, is the motor, as it tries to drive the machine, the motor shaft right here is going to be spinning inside of that, and that's what makes that horrible noise.
You see, I'm holding the motor fan right here, and as I hold it, see the coupler turns.
Right, just like that.
And it shouldn't do that.
Right. So that's exactly what the problem was. Sometimes you'll find them with the ears on it broken off, but the next step is to remove that motor coupler.
I would like to add, guys, that on occasion, you see these rubber things right here on your motor, okay? These are little things that insulate vibrations and go on the motor mounting plate right here. Sometimes when you take the motor off, you'll see that they get stuck on there like that, okay? If that happens, just take it off and make sure all 4 of them are on the motor right here, just like that. And then when reinstallation happens, it should be all set.
To remove the motor coupler, if it's loose, you can pull it right off, just like that. If it does not want to come off, you can just use a standard claw hammer or rip hammer, the kind that you know that you always see when you think of a hammer. The back part of it that you use to pull nails off will do a fine job of prying the motor coupler off of there. You can just wipe that down like we're doing here. Just clean off any of the detritus on there. And then we'll go ahead and install the new motor coupler. Now, of course, if the rest of the motor coupler is still stuck on the transmission underneath, the transmission right there, if the coupler is stuck onto that, you can go behind this big plate and pry that off with a nice flat blade screwdriver. Here's one part of the old coupler, and you'll notice it's all made out of plastic. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and install the new coupler. You will have to tap that onto the shaft. Now you want to use a regular socket. This particular one is a 17/32 socket. I'll turn it so you can see. And you'll notice how it fits right on the metal part, just like that. We're also going to use just an extension like that because of the recess back there. And I also have a longer extension to make it even easier to tap on if we need. Alright, as you can see, the motor shaft has 2 flats on it. This also has 2 flats on it, so we just have to mate that up and put it on, and then you can use the socket to drive it on. Okay, so I have it with the flats in the right orientation. I can't really see what I'm doing directly, but that's it. And then we're going to use the, you see I got it on, well I almost did actually, but once you get it in place, kind of like that, now you can use the socket to tap it on. So we're going to just tap that on now. Okay, there is the new coupler mounted on there. Now you'll notice, let me just get this in focus for you, the motor shaft is just about flush with the front of the coupler, and that's what you want. That's why you put the socket around that metal part to drive it on. And I did end up using a long extension just like this to get in there, because you see it's quite some distance, and then of course just a hammer to tap that on. We have to do the same thing with the motor here on this side, and once we get that on there, I'll show you how that goes, and then we can go and put the rubber coupler together and button everything up and reinstall everything. So once again, this has 2 flats on it, and the coupler does as well. So you just go ahead and mate that up, just like that. Now we're going to put the socket on there. You can see it's right on the metal part, and just tap it home. Still a little ways to go. You can feel it, it's not quite there. There's just a little tiny bit more it needs to go. That feels perfect. I want to give you a nice close-up of that, so you can see that it's driven all the way on there home. Perfect. Okay, we're ready to put the rubber piece on. You'll notice there are 6 openings in it around the circumference of it. 3 of these ears that you see back here will fit on. So it's just a matter of pretty much sticking it on there until you get those through, just like that. Fits right on. We got a lot of dirt down here, so there was some on there. And you also want to take note, see how there's kind of 1 on top and 2 there? When we go to put the motor on, we want 2 on top that will mate with those, and 1 on the bottom. And we'll show you exactly how that's going to go. Pretty much as it is now, we would, if it were installed exactly like this, it would go in this way. So this will fit in those. Here's the one that's on top already, and then the one on the bottom, and the other 2 from the other coupler piece are there. Fortunately, we don't have the clearance here for to really put the camera in any place to show you this. And really what this is just kind of handling the motor and putting it on. As long as you have everything turned right, so it will go on the coupler there, it should fit right on. When you do that, you can then go ahead and secure the motor with the clips. You'll see that we have installed one, or which we actually left here, like that. And you'll see how it's keyed here. You see how there's that slot going vertically? You can turn it 90 degrees, and that's exactly how this will install. You can see how it'll be turned 90 degrees to go in, and then it'll catch on those 2 ears there. So we're going to go ahead now and install the motor. Once again, just get the couplers lined up so it'll go together. And once you get it in, hook the clips back on. And there's the bottom motor clip on. Now there is a screw that goes through that, and the top clip as well, that you want to reinstall at this point. After you do that, you can now check your work. What you can do is spin the shaft by hand, and turning that counterclockwise, you will notice the agitator turns slowly. And if we turn it the other way, it will go and actually agitate.
It will, but it's hard to turn.
Right, it's hard to turn by hand.
So there you go.
I've reconnected the capacitor there. You want to just use the plastic connectors on there, and don't pull the wires, only use the plastic connectors there. Now we're going to plug the motor connector back in, and that just really snaps back into place. It's keyed, so it only fits one way. And just push it on.
Oh, that's it. It's on.
That's it. It's on. Nothing more to it. It just pushes on just like that. And that clip there, you'll see, will hook on to the little ear just like that. So now the motor is reconnected. Now time to reinstall the pump, the drain pump. So we have to install the clips. We showed you how this works before. It goes right in that opening there, and you turn it, and it'll hang there waiting for you. Same thing for the top one, which goes in that opening, which we'll put in a moment.
You also want to match up the motor shaft with how the pump looks.
Right. You see the flats on there, and you can also use the one of these pump clips to actually turn the pump shaft if you need to, so it'll mate up. But we'll see if we can just sort of get it on. That's it, right in. Again, there's flats on that. Now that clip comes up. You might drop it, it's okay. There's no rush here.
Oh boy.
It's tight.
There we go.
But there you go. That's snapped in. And now we're going to reinstall that one. Put that in there, turn, and it snaps down, just like that. It's reassembled. Now all you have to do is put the cabinet back on. Okay, the next step is simply to reinstall the cabinet. Now you will need to do that because of the lid switch, which you can see the connector for over there. If you are handy and know how to make a jumper wire in that, then probably you didn't actually need to watch this video because you clearly know what you're doing. If you don't, you will want to reinstall the cabinet. This is a good quality washing machine, and you can be sure of your work that it's going to work once you put it back together. So you can safely go ahead and put the cabinet on without testing the machine. And regardless, you need to put the cabinet on so you can test the machine. You go to reinstall the cabinet, really all you have to do is just sort of manhandle it and just put it back in place. But this front rail that goes across, the cabinet itself has to go under that rail that's there. If it's on top of it, it won't be seated right, and you'll know it. So it has to slide on underneath that front rail right over there. Like I said, you just sort of manhandle it back on. You can use the lid to assist. Right now we're just sort of kicking the front of it to get it seated on that. You can see the cabinet here and how that has to go under the front rail. Not much I can show you, but you get the idea. Now we install the cabinet clips. Just sort of put it in place as I showed you before. That, and then just snap down. I'll show you again over here. Snaps in. I've cleaned the dirt that was here. Now you can go ahead and reconnect the lid switch that just plugs right back in, and now we can lower the controls panel. Just, make sure the wires don't get caught anywhere. And you'll see these hooks here, which we'll show you again in a second, fit in these notches in the cabinet here.
Just like that.
Yep, and it fits right in, and now there's two screws, one right under your thumb and on the other side. We'll put those back in. Now just screw these back down, and then you can reconnect all of the hoses. Okay, we have our hoses reconnected now. There's the drain hose back in. We've plugged the machine back into the electrical and reconnected the fill hoses. We have a screwdriver in the lid switch. We've put the dial over to spin, and we're going to go ahead and do that. And this should start spinning just like it always did. Going to test the wash function. We're going to put it there. We're going to put it on warm, so that way it'll get all the air out of the hoses there. And we'll lift this up. We'll get some air in here. And there we go. The machine has been successfully repaired. Now, you will notice that the top part of the agitator is acting a little wonky here, and that's because the agitator dogs are shot, and I'm going to show you how to replace those in my very next video. But the machine is certainly agitating, as you can see here, so it has been successfully repaired. This has been agitating for some time now, just as a test. And now we're going to advance the timer.
With the drain hoses in? Okay, good. Oh, went into spin. Probably didn't go long enough.
Yeah, but it's all there and it's working. Usually the machine will do a neutral drain where it won't spin the basket with the water in there. It started doing that and then made a clunk where it slipped into spin. That's okay and normal for these machines. This hasn't been used in a week or two, clearly, because it was broken and now it's fixed. So that's draining out. You can hear the water going into the standpipe over there. And we'll let that drain out. As soon as it does that, of course, it will pick up a lot more speed. And we can call this one fixed. And there you go. It agitates and spins properly once again. Now let's talk turkey. This was the bad motor coupler. This probably broke due to the machine being overloaded all the time. You can see the crack in it right there, and that's what caused the problem. The entire cost for this whole part, all three of these things come as one, like a kit, was $6. That's correct, $6. And that part fixed this entire machine. Now, usually when somebody's machine goes out like that, they're ready to just jump the gun and buy a whole new one. It's more efficient in that, and that couldn't be by any means farther from the truth. It is not more efficient. It will take much longer to wash. It will use more electricity, and it will use more water to balance the load. If you don't believe me, check out other videos on my channel called Wash Day Wash-In, and we talk about how the high efficiency machines are nowhere near that. And your old standby, your old machine that you've had for the last 15 years and never failed you, well, that's all it costs, folks. $6. I guarantee you one of those HE spaceships is going to be $250, $300 and up just to fix that. And that's only to say hello to the repairman. By the way, the one sad part is that repairmen generally aren't going to fix older machines like this, so you're left doing it yourself. But I have left you now with the tools and the knowledge to do that. Hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, please consider clicking the like and subscribe buttons. That lets me know that I did a good job making this video, and therefore I can continue to provide them for you. Have a great day.